Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Progressive Overload Podcast. Have you ever thought about strengthening multiple areas of your life at the same time? Then you've come to the right place. Our goal is to help you identify ways that you might need a progressive overload to break through those plateaus and keep you growing.
Hey, what's up, Progressive Overload Podcast? We are back at the table once again. This is Dustin Moore, joined today by Joe Copeland.
Hello.
And Adam Lazarine.
Hey, everybody.
And we are excited to jump into yet another episode. You know, we're getting up there in episodes, guys.
This is 18?
I think technically this is like the 19th that we've recorded.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Something
Stop
like that.
numbering because I can't keep count.
I don't know. Once we got into the double digits, it was a little hard to keep track of, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just never learned to count that high, but it is what it is. So today we have a pretty fun topic and one that I'm interested in personally. Maybe have a little testimony to offer towards this one, more so than some of our other episodes. But Today we're going to discuss how to tackle temptations in food, fitness, and life. And
cool.
Man, can I not think of a more prevalent episode right now, because the temptations for a lot of things are real for all of us, I would say. I would assume. And shout out to Joe yesterday at lunch, chowing down on his half beef, half chicken fajita skillet.
Yes.
And really wanted some chips, and he let me know, and I told him no.
I know. I was like, dude, I'm about to go get some chips to dip in this queso.
I didn't know I could do both.
I know. It's a game changer.
Yeah, dude.
Tyson was like, I want the half chicken, half fajitas, half beef. And we were like, you can do that?
He had.
Right.
And so, like, for 4 orders in a row, we were like, and the lady cooking was like, another half beef, half chicken, and here's another one.
She was excited.
We started like a trend.
So funny. So it's funny.
Cool.
But yeah, it's a good change up in there.
Just as a little opener, I know everybody has like their go-to comfort food, I guess, or comfort thing that they go to.
Yeah.
What would be your go-to comfort food that you're just tempted with?
All the time?
Yeah, most consistently.
Most weeks?
Yeah, most weeks.
Okay, so are we going top 1 or top 3 or just top 2?
Top however many. What do you got, Adam? I feel like you got something to bring up
temptations.
Here. Yeah, for me, it's probably Tex-Mex. It's probably just the idea of going into the restaurant and having an endless supply of chips, which on keto, that's a huge deal, like to try to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I like Mexican food a lot. And
Tex-Mex is like beef, beans, and queso and tortillas in 1,000 different types of combinations.
How many different things can we make out of the same 5 ingredients?
Sure.
You know, it's what it boils down to.
But for some reason, other restaurants are better than the others.
Yeah, it is.
It's so funny.
Tom,
what about you, Joe?
Man, I'm a big sucker for anything fried.
Okay.
But I've been eating so well this year. Like maybe 2 weeks ago, before we started the this last challenge, it was Fish Friday at the cafe, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get some fried fish. And so, and of course, with that fried fish comes fried hush puppies.
Naturally.
Fried okra.
Right.
All the stuff.
Yes. And I have not been that sick in a long time.
I feel miserable.
I think that craving or that temptation has left the building for life, because I think about fried fish right now, and I'm like, ugh.
See, I find myself, and this is mine, is if I had to say, it's more of a blanket statement, but carbs in general, dude, I am a carbaholic, man.
Yeah.
Like anything that has bread or breading, like I'm about it, and I want it.
Yeah.
Even when I shouldn't.
Of course.
And for the listeners that are listening now and trying to avoid a temptation, we're sorry.
Now that you've been tempted by us talking about it.
If you deal with any of the struggles of the following, Tex-Mex, fried foods, and or bread.
It's like a bad infomercial. We just turned this episode into a bad infomercial about temptation.
So that's good. So how do you guys deal with the temptation during everyday life when you're faced with these things?
Yeah, so today I'm going to talk about a couple different ways that we can. But if I'm just thinking about like in my real life and on a daily basis, the best way I can avoid them is by honestly having accountability and having you guys and then, Tyson and, everybody else that's a part of this challenge, having that accountability is the number one thing that keeps me from being tempted and helping me avoid those temptations. I don't know about you guys, but that's the game changer for me.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. I thought about the other day, if we decided to snapshot everything that we put into our mouths and send it to each other, that would be a huge deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd keep our phones busy because I snack a lot, but at the end of the day, it would be like, do I really want that in my body? Because I'm about to have to tell everybody else that's what I'm going to eat.
You know what? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
One of my biggest struggles, and I'll be totally, transparent here, is eating in private. Do you guys ever find yourself eating something secretly so that nobody knows about it?
Not too much.
Why do I picture Joe like just at his home alone, right? Just a big old ice cream cake in front of him, just a shovel of a spoon.
No, like
chowing.
Adam, think about a time maybe your wife was out of town and you had the house to yourself or whatever.
Ooh,
or
yeah.
Maybe your kids were gone and you could just go. You were like, all right, dinner's on me. I can go eat whatever I want.
I don't have that temptation too much, just because if I do have an opportunity to eat whatever I want, to me it would be like if I go out to make a visit or a hospital visit out of town, and I get to do lunch by myself, then I basically get to pick whatever I want. But I also then tell Brandy or I tell, hey, this is what I have for lunch, and so it's not a huge deal to me
I
much.
guess I'm the lone nut here.
No, that's fine. But I can understand it though. Like if you're about to eat a meal and then you're like, let me grab 4 or 5 handfuls of this.
Yeah, I've done that before.
And then I'm going to eat the whole meal anyway. And now that I can relate to, so I can see that.
I've had clients who had secret stashes, not just so that they could keep it away from kids, but so that they would, like, one client in particular had always kept her own personal closet stocked with Little Debbie snacks, and she would go into her closet, eat her Little Debbie snack, and then go back out like it never ever happened. That's a more common thing than we think it is. Yeah. And then I had another client one time who would go to Sonic and order 2 different meals and pay with 2 different cards, but eat both of them for herself.
Wow.
But she did it so that the person wouldn't think that both of those meals were for herself. And so there's a lot of psychology stuff that goes into these kinds of things.
That's interesting.
That's crazy.
I know, it's pretty wild. But I mean, it's all psychology, honestly.
So how do we help people, and how do we help ourselves other than accountability? Because some people may not want that or have that at this point. So what are some things that we can do personally to help with this? And you came up with a cool acronym.
Yeah, in honor of ourselves, Adam. The acronym is DADS.
Not it.
So DADS. Hope not.
Absolutely not.
All right.
So the first, I'll just say it's delay, avoid, distract, substitute. So let's just kind of take each of those 4 and discuss them. Let's talk about how we have used each individual approach in our own lives. So the first one is delay. So put off giving into a craving for 5 or 10 minutes, and then in hopes that the urge goes away. And so this is specifically helpful in emotional situations. It helps you, doing something or that you will regret later.
So let me just ask, is there a science behind this, or is this just a hope, like fishing with a cork? I mean, you hope that it goes under?
I feel that it works, and like I said, I don't know if there's some sort of psychology thing going on behind the scenes there, but it does work if you feel yourself starting to crave something, or you start thinking about something and it starts to brew in your mind, create that space and delay it and say, okay, I will go get that in 10 minutes. And then in 10 minutes, approach it again and see, maybe if you keep putting it off, it might actually delay the craving inevitably.
Yeah, I have experience with this back when I was pursuing weight loss and like how best to go about it. I remember reading specifically somewhere, and I can't remember where, but I remember reading the suggestion of kind of using this delay concept, right? Of when you feel that tinge of hunger, delay for 5 to 10 minutes, but it's suggested to drink a glass of water. Mm-hmm. And then wait that 10 minutes, and if you're still hungry, then you're really hungry.
Yeah, that's good. I've read that all over the place. If you start feeling yourself feel that craving, chug a glass of water.
So can you put this into the realm of, whenever you are in a confrontation with somebody or something, not an argument, but just a disagreement of sorts. It doesn't have to be heated. It doesn't have to be anything, volatile, but you then turn around and you say something stupid. And you like, as soon as it comes out of your mouth, you're like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. Mm-hmm. In those moments, those are what I call, what are they called? A reaction. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. If I touch my hand to the stove, my hand automatically reacts by pulling away.
Yeah.
And so those are reactions instead of responses. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at hunger in the same way, do you want to react or do you want to respond?
Yeah, I like that thinking. That's good.
Sure.
Can you make the correlation with those two things, or am I off base?
No, I think you're right on the money there. Like we said before on previous podcasts, just putting thought into the calories that are in your body and appreciating them for what you're about to eat, rather than just kind of having that mindless eating mentality where you're reacting to what you see, give it to me, putting it in my mouth, swallowing it before I even chew it type thing. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the D for delay. And the next one is A for avoid.
Man, this one is probably the one that I lean towards the most when I'm trying to control my eating.
Yeah.
When I'm specifically like using bread as an example, because I've already outed myself as having that as a temptation. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest ways that I end up trying to curb that temptation or get away from it is to just avoid it.
Yeah,
I put myself in a position where I don't see it, so it's not a temptation. This looks like if I'm sitting down and eating Tex-Mex, taking that bowl of chips and putting it at the other end of the table, so it's not readily accessible.
Yeah.
If I'm going to like the cafe with Joe, I watch what Joe gets, and if he has bread, I'm like, I'm just gonna go with my standby, the skillet. I know it's not gonna have any bread, and especially like when I'm at restaurants, right? And I'm sitting down and I'm looking at a menu, I can sit there and go, okay, so this isn't a good option. I need to stay away from this section.
Yeah.
But over here, there's some decent options, and I start to weigh out those things.
Yeah. Is it one of those things where it's we can look at the menu or look at the server and tell them no? Have you ever done that? Have you ever told the server, no, don't bring the chips?
Oh, yeah. I have done that. Yeah.
You can do that, by the way, in case you're wondering at home.
Just say no.
Just say no, which goes into avoiding.
Yeah. Right. There's a couple restaurants here in town that you can request pork rinds if you're trying to go low carb, and they'll bring you pork rinds with your hot sauce or with your queso or whatever.
Interesting.
And so, I did not know that.
I know.
Didn't think about that.
After this, we can go get some.
Yes, you can.
That sounds good, huh? Yeah. No, avoiding. It's all about being aware of what you're eating and being aware of where you're going. If you like Dustin, this weekend you came and worked out with me in my home gym, hometown gym, and that was awesome. Thank you for coming. I love when you do that. It's a lot of fun. But we like to go after we work out, go to Chick-fil-A because they have a playground there, and so Dustin and I could just hang out while my daughter plays in the playground. And it's
good. I was thinking you guys were about to get on the playground.
Dude, you should see Joe use those monkey bars.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
No.
He's got all the upper body strength.
I bet so. One of my children
not
at Chick-fil-A one time, I have to tell you this, went to the top and then of the indoor playground and did not want to come down because they were afraid when they realized how high it was.
Sweet.
And so guess who had to go up the playground? It is not built for someone. Yeah, it's not built for someone like me.
No.
Not at all.
No.
But I made it high enough to get their, get them to come down.
Yeah.
And all crisis was avoided. And so we had a great day. But keep going. I'm sorry.
No, that's awesome. I love it. But yeah, I remember Dustin saying, he's like, Chick-fil-A is usually a place that I tend to avoid because you have a hard time not getting like a sandwich there, right?
Yep.
But I was proud of you. You got the salad. And
so
it was
Joe's
awesome.
standing there watching me order, and I'm like, I'll have the salad.
No, I had to get a grilled chicken sandwich because I
You did.
loved it.
You didn't just get one.
Wow.
I did just get one.
I mean, technically, but if you count Lorna's too.
Oh, yeah, but I didn't eat that. I gave it to her.
Well,
Or did
you
I?
still
Or did I?
ordered two.
He used two different cards.
He used to, yeah.
No, I have done that before, but that was not this scenario.
No, well, Dustin was watching.
Yeah. No, but instead of the fries, we'll talk about those later, but I got the grilled chicken sandwich with a side salad, and I count that a freaking win at Chick-fil-A because there's so many. I told Dustin, like, if I don't give a crap about my food at that moment, I'm getting 2 Chick-fil-A sandwiches and some fries. And so this is a major win for me.
Dun, 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 dun.
I know. So know those pain points. Know those places that you have a hard time not getting this dish that you love. If there's a specific restaurant you're trying to be well and oh man, they have the best chicken fried steak in the world. Maybe let's not choose to go there for dinner tonight. Maybe.
And I think you can almost look at those as trigger points, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That when you approach them, it's automatically a trigger that pushes you in the direction of the temptation.
Yeah.
Just by proximity.
Yeah. I mean, and depending on how extreme, how extreme you're wanting to be and how dialed in you're wanting to be. I've had clients tell me, or I'll just have my wife order food for me, and so she knows what's healthy. I don't even look at a menu. I just trust her to get me something healthy, and then that's another way to kind of avoid seeing all the temptation items on the menu. And there's a lot of cool ways that you can.
That would be fun. Let's go to the restaurant and order for each other.
Oh man!
And then see how well it goes.
That would be fun. Let's do that.
You guys have fun with that.
Let's do it at Chicken Express.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult.
Chicken, or do you want?
Can I get it without the batter? I don't understand. I don't know.
Oh man,
that's terrible. All right, so avoid.
Yeah.
A for avoid.
Welcome to the Fried Chicken Hut. Can I get the grilled chicken?
Yeah. With a side of chicken.
And I always like to tell people, make sure when you're going to a restaurant, every single restaurant in the world, for the most part, well, in the United States, I should say, that I know of, has their menu posted online. Go in their menu, look at it ahead of time, know what don't go in there where it smells good, where you can, don't make your choices.
That has been one thing coming out of COVID that I've noticed is so many more restaurants have gone to using like QR codes for a menu instead of handing things out, or at least have the option there, just because of they did that as a way of avoiding COVID restrictions, but
that word gives me PTSD.
That has been I think it gives us all that, but that has been one positive that's come out of that is having those menus readily accessible. Most often, you don't even need the QR code to find those menus.
It's on their Facebook, their website,
and so that is a pro tip: is you can plan ahead and avoid the temptation of the moment. Because I know me. Listen, I can read, but I also like to look at the pictures. Right? If they hand me a menu that has like these pictures of the platters that they serve and it's all picturesque and like looks perfect, right?
Yeah.
I'm more tempted to order that because I'm like, man, that looks good, right? But eliminating that temptation sometimes, if I can get just, Yeah.
Well, yeah, making your choice before you get in the actual building to where it smells so delicious, and
true.
The psychology behind that is stronger than you think.
I just had a thought. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Do you think that we could make menus that are pop-up books, like kids' books, where when you open it, the plate comes open and there it is? Like, then you could see what you're going to get on.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
It shows the full like ingredient list, how they cook it, like.
Yeah.
I think he's just talking about pictures.
Well, you know,
like 3D pictures.
We're adding to as Dustin goes along in his mind, which is fine. I don't know. I thought it'd be neat, and it probably would not help me make my decision, make it even harder. But, and the menu might be, you know,
size not very economical.
Yeah,
but
the size of an encyclopedia.
You know what it would do?
What's that?
It would help to distract you.
That's very true. I can barely get past the coloring pages they hand out at most restaurants. So,
oh man! Speaking of distract,
yes, D
good transition, Dustin. I'm so funny. All right, number 3, the second D in dads is distract. So, if possible, when you feel yourself being tempted by certain things, keep yourself busy with something that will distract you fully. I don't know what that might be for you guys. I can think specifically in my head right now. I'm playing a lot of video games, Dustin, right now. You would like that. But when I'm dialed into my video games, I can't sit there and eat a bunch of food. And so if I'm dialed into my video game at night, it's keeping me busy from going to snack or grabbing
moment of transparency, as Joe said earlier.
Let's have it.
Yeah, I've had those days where I'm in a similar situation. You know, I don't play the video games like I haven't passed currently. But I've definitely had those days where it's been like wake up, hop on the game with, you know, the group of guys that I hang out with, and we go and go and go and go and go. And then we look at the clock and we're like, the day's kind of over. I didn't eat.
I haven't eaten anything.
Yeah. And now that's not a healthy distraction, but I can see what you're saying about how you keep yourself busy and it ends up distracting you from, you know, the temptation or choices that could interrupt the day.
I think water is my distraction.
Yeah, it's a very good distraction.
It's probably the only one that
probably the one we need to have.
That's much more healthier.
Tic Tacs are not a bad distraction for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting.
0 calories, you know, not much to them, but it keeps you occupied and busy. So that's it's one that I use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's other ones that, I mean, you could use like busy work in the office, like go if you feel like you're needing a snack and needing to go to the break room, go do that file reorganization that you've been putting off for the last month or something. I don't know, just kind of find those ways. So any other
keep the mind busy.
Keep your mind
chess
busy.
Puzzles.
Oh yeah,
chess puzzles. There's that thing again.
I still haven't tried.
Have not tried that. You're gonna have to convince me.
Disappointed in both of you.
I bet you are.
No, and I say that jokingly, but as Joe knows, he's seen me on the treadmill in the gym doing Sudoku puzzles, and I'll be honest, like those are a big distraction to where I don't pay attention to the running or anything that's going on.
Yeah,
and I ran 4 miles last Monday, and when I did that, I did puzzles the entire time, and
that's crazy.
And I'll be honest, like compared to typical, I didn't have to stop or slow down near as much from kind of the pace that I typically try and hold. And so I was able to actually set some records as far as my app was telling me on how fast I had moved and whatnot. Just because the distraction kept me focused on what I was working on versus.
So you did 4 puzzles in 4 miles, basically.
I want to say I did 5 or 6.
Jeez.
Something like that.
So I tried it the other day. I did like a 20-minute session on the elliptical.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to see what this Sudoku thing is all about, or whatever you call it. Is that it, Sudoku?
Yeah.
I think so.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm going to confidently call it Sudoku. And if I'm wrong...
All right. I could not finish a single puzzle in 20 minutes.
Bruh.
Dude, I I had no
20
BDNF.
minutes?
Yeah, dude, I couldn't do it, man.
So it's been interesting, and I've had this conversation with Joe before. Typically, when I start, the first puzzle will take me anywhere 10 to 12 minutes. The second puzzle and anything after that takes me anywhere 4 to 6 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Man.
It's like once my brain is engaged after that first one, I can just
You're
like
just in
cruise
flow,
through
man. Yeah.
the next few.
That's exciting stuff.
So-
I did not realize I was sitting with a genius. So,
You're welcome.
2 geniuses,
two geniuses.
you and him.
No. I was wondering if I would be able to even stay on the machine. If my brain is having to work that hard, I'd probably fall off.
Yeah.
So that's Distract, and this segment has been a wonderful distraction for many of you. And so we'll move on to the S in dads.
Let's go ahead and just fill in the gap of this time and substitute things into our last category.
S
Joe,
for substitute.
what is it?
Take it away.
There's a couple different ways you can take this. So choose a different behavior than the habit you're trying to resist. So if did that ring a bell with you?
It kind of did. A little off topic.
Hey, go for it.
Okay.
Or this is the off-topic episode.
Sure enough.
Just fine. Just don't throw me under the bus, Joe. Just hit me with it. Why don't you? No. So I commonly have seen this, or what comes to my mind in this is I think about people who've had the habit of smoking, right? And they go to quit. And I most often mentally think when I see these people, because I know them in my life, right? Where I see they go to put down that habit and they put something in place of it, like chewing gum.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly,
they
yeah.
like the substitute, the busyness. They need, their mouth almost feels like it has to be doing something, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, like that that made that mental connection of they're substituting that movement or behavior with chewing gum.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it. You're substituting an unhealthy craving, an unhealthy temptation with a better option. And so kind of like we mentioned a while ago, get the pork rinds. Pork rinds are a really healthy snack for you.
Are they?
Yeah.
Are they really that
Don't
healthy?
get the
Yes,
rice.
they are.
Get the
Dude,
cauliflower rice.
They're basically like protein. There's no carbs whatsoever in them.
Right. I know that.
I
'cause
mean,
I've
you can
eaten
you
them.
can make them less healthy with queso, like we're in the scenario what we're
Queso,
talking about.
yes.
But no, dude, they're a great snack, especially if you're keto.
Yeah. I have a bag at home right now.
Okay, well that's good.
Okay, so
especially this place because they make them there.
that's cool.
Yeah, and so they're not just bagged.
Perhaps that
anyways.
makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, those kinds of things. If you feel like you want to cheat and you just want to go binge, go on a walk instead and clear your mind. If you want something sweet, try a piece of fruit instead of cake. Those kind of easy substitutions. But yeah, cauliflower substitutes are also a great one.
So for somebody who's trying to walk through one of these substitutes, Joe, is there any substitutes that you can say personally are your almost like a preference? Because I know we've had this conversation before. There are certain things that you substitute, and at first you're like, I don't know, this isn't the real thing. And eventually over time, you're like, okay, like I almost prefer this. So what are some of those things for you?
I mean, other than we just mentioned, I'm a big fan of, if I'm really, really craving a pizza, getting those cauliflower crust pizzas. Yeah.
And cauliflower is kind of like the catch-all in this, I think, because like I most commonly think of, I set aside any kind of rice and substitute it with cauliflower rice. That's one of my favorites. Adam, you got anything that's like kind of a substitute for you?
It's hard for me, and I think probably bread is the hardest thing to substitute for me. And so I've started to branch out a little bit. I've seen some people online do like almost like egg muffins with in the waffle maker. And so you throw an egg and some cheese and make a piece of bread, basically a waffle that's made out of egg. And then you can use it as a sandwich, base or something like that. And that's really not a bad option. And it doesn't taste quite as good as, white bread, but it's kind of giving you the same option in your mind. Hey, I do have a sandwich here. I can hold, between my hands.
Here's a fun take for you. one of those substitutes you mentioned, Joe, was try a piece of fruit instead of cake or candy, right? What is your go-to fruit?
I love oranges, probably the one I eat the most, but I love apples and pears. Orange, apples, pears, and strawberries are probably the most common ones that I eat. Yeah.
What about you, Dustin?
Does melon count as well within this category?
I mean, it's a fruit, yeah. It's easy to overeat, a lot of sugar, but
it is
not
very
much
easy
fiber.
to overeat. I find myself gravitating towards things like grapes.
Yeah.
Specifically green grapes, watermelon, cantaloupe, have always been kind of like a favorite for me. And I kind of lean with you, Joe. The oranges and apples is kind of just like the classic staple for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those are a few things that are easy for me to grab, especially like orange and apple. It's hard to beat that, man. Like it's just so you grab and go, you know. Grapes work wonderful for me as just kind of this like small substitute when I'm getting kind of snacky.
Yeah.
Because I can just grab a handful and go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I don't get to eat a lot of fruit on keto.
Nope. That's what sucks.
So I will indulge myself and have some strawberries and whipped cream or something.
Yeah.
You know.
You can have a handful of strawberries without getting too.
That's not too bad, but there's a lot of sugar in that as well. So as far as keto goes, there's a lot of sugar.
Yeah, and you know, there's plenty of other things that are out there. Like I'm sure you can go online and Google substitutes. Like Joe, I know you're a big fan of the ranch dressing.
Really?
You eat it at every meal, regardless of what that meal is.
No matter how healthy I ever get, and no matter how dialed in, that is one thing I will never give up.
It's one thing you'll never give up.
Personal relationship with ranch
That's
dressing.
Unhealthy. But I've seen recipes of being able to make. It's not even really ranch. But it consists of like what is it?
Greek yogurt,
low fat Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt with ranch seasoning, and
it's good.
Like you mix it together, and it's supposed to. It's a healthier version.
Yeah.
You can't expect it to taste as good, right? But
I'm Hidden Valley or nothing, baby. Or I'm gonna be sponsored by Hidden Valley when we make it big, guys.
Joe's got a mini fridge in his closet that just has bottles of ranch dressing.
That's what he's doing whenever he's eating in secret. He's got a straw in his ranch bottle, and he's just going to town.
No, like you visit his house and you go with a cup like up to his fridge and go to get water out, and just ranch dressing comes out.
That's terrible.
I'm pretty sure I remember us having a ranch dressing fountain at our wedding.
Wow.
Because we had a chocolate fountain and a ranch dressing fountain. Yes, we did. I remember this.
It wouldn't surprise me, Joe. It does
That's
not
exciting.
surprise.
How awesome is that?
That's unique.
I'm trying to erase that image out of my head, and I just
word
can't.
I'm going to give you. That's unique.
I just can't get rid of it. So here's the thing. If you're still listening at this point, bless you and thank you. The problem with temptation is nobody can avoid it.
No.
We are tempted. All of us are tempted by food that we love and food that we like, and opportunity presents itself to eat those things, and so none of us can get away from this, and it's true in our lives as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that we often forget about temptation in our life, and especially in our spiritual life. Temptation is not the sin. Does that make sense?
No. Yeah.
To be tempted is not sinful.
Yeah.
It feels wrong in our being because the standard of God's holiness is set so high that when we are tempted, it immediately feels wrong, and that's a good indicator as to kind of go through this dad's acronym.
Yeah.
When you have that moment in your life or in your spiritual life, and you're like, this feels wrong, there's probably something wrong.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure and approach that and tackle that and even embrace that and go, this may very well be wrong, but the temptation itself is not the problem.
Yeah,
it's whenever the temptation turns into action, just like in our food lives.
Yes.
Whenever we are tempted by chips or bread or pizza or Tex-Mex, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's okay for us to be tempted by those things. The problem comes whenever we actually give in to the temptation and then action takes place.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to just throw that out there and see what you guys think about that, because even Jesus himself was tempted.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. He was tempted, right?
You know, I've heard that brought up so many times. Of it clearly says he was tempted.
Yes.
So what is the difference between his temptation and ours? The response, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, Jesus lived on earth, fully man, experienced what we experienced, you know, but he obviously was completely locked in on the Father and and on his mission here on earth that the Father had given him. And part of that was avoiding giving in to that temptation, but the temptation was still there, you know?
Yeah.
And to me, knowing that he went through that similarly to myself going through temptation when that happens, it for me it almost makes it more identifiable, right? Like,
of course,
the connection there, of okay, like this isn't just me, because I think just like we talked about with the secret place of the closet with the little Debbie's or the, if you're Joe, the mini fridge ranch dressing. The secret side of that is what wreaks havoc.
Yeah.
In my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Yeah.
And I think especially that temptation, those things that we deal with, I think that they thrive in secrecy.
They do. And it lends itself to everything that we've talked about in multiple ways in multiple episodes of our podcast, about getting accountability, about being transparent, about opening up to somebody and getting help. And so if you're dealing with temptation and you are struggling with something, just reach out to somebody that you trust, reach out to somebody that's safe.
One of the most life-changing moments of my spiritual growth in the last, decade or so is realizing that sin is always forgiven, obviously, but it's hard to make changes from those sin with it being in secret.
Yeah.
With it, when you're going through something and you're trying to hide that sin, it is so hard to get rid of that shame, to get rid of that guilt, to make those life changes.
There is freedom within it.
But when you are confessing those sins to not only God, but maybe a close accountability partner or somebody, it is a freaking life changer.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's the word I use and will always use to describe this, is it gives freedom.
Absolutely.
It breaks the chains that hold you down. You used a good word there, shame. I think that's a big part of it. But I think there's more than shame that you deal with that.
Right.
I think fear.
Yeah.
Is another big thing that holds us into secrecy. And so how do we tackle the temptations that we find in context of life in regards to the temptation to sin? Well, number one, we can't do it in secrecy.
Right.
And I've always heard the kind of expression of when you're facing those things, make sure it's not a one-on-one issue, because then the odds are even. Like, you want it to be stacked in your favor. And so bringing in that accountability partner where it's 2-on-1.
Sure.
Or a group where it's 3+ versus the one issue. Like, you have more strength in unity with those people than you do fighting on your own.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. And I want to make sure that I throw this in there, because when you think about temptation, most people think about lust and they think about, sexual sin and those kind of things.
Alcohol.
And those are things that you need to address, in your life, in your spiritual life. But there are other things like covetousness. That's a hard word for me to say. Pride, greed, envy. All of those are sins of the heart. And so you want to, take a good look when you're going through that inventory and see what else there is. And even, if you're a believer, ask God for that clarity.
Yeah.
And see what he exposes to you.
It's almost like those things, if we sum them up together, they, to me at least, almost seem like the antithesis of the fruits of the Spirit, right? And so as we take stock of our own lives, making sure that we live life with the fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Which is?
Oh, I was going to say.
Love, joy,
peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Which takes
self-control?
us back. That takes us back to everything we've talked about.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, but I think like that's a good mark of you look at those things, right? And how do we avoid temptation? Well, we abide within God and live out these qualities within our lives.
Yeah.
And then it helps pull us away from that.
And just like with our food, you know, it's easy to say and sometimes difficult to do. And so we're in this together, you know, with all of our listeners and with each other. And, you know, we want to be able to hear, you know, if you need help.
Of course.
We want to point you in the right direction. It may not be one of us, but it may be somebody that we can get you the help that you need. So, anyway, that's kind of where we were today. DADS acronym.
The DADS. Delay,
avoid, distract, substitute.
So when I was really going through that, it was an unhealthy time in my life a couple years ago to where, you know, I kind of mentioned where I would eat in private more. And it was kind of a self-medication type thing. I think looking back, I probably was. I'm not crying. My voice just squeaked, in case you're curious.
I see the tear.
No, I really think that I was probably going through some kind of depression that I just really didn't understand. And I think that led to a lot of my weight gain in the last couple of years. But I remember hearing this statement, and it really helped me kind of a little bit. It's not like I don't know. Anyways, and I wrote it down, and I would keep it close to me. And basically, what you eat in private, you wear in public. And so, it's and I don't say that in a physical sense, but I think, and going back to our life, our sin will ultimately be exposed, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to talk about those sins with someone and get them out there and talk them through them. And so that's just what I wanted to leave everybody with is if you have something that you're struggling with, holding it back, and you don't want anybody to know, the best way that you can get rid of that shame and stuff like that is go talk it out with somebody.
Absolutely.
So as we are wrapping up today, guys, we just want to throw one little piece of information at you. If you've been following us on our social medias, you may have seen that we began a little kind of weekly couple updates posts that we're doing throughout the week. I just want to take time to mention. So if you are following those things, we want you to join in on the conversation. We have, what are the three things, Joe? Motivation Monday,
What You Eatin' Wednesday, and Fit Pick Friday. So
Fit Pick Friday, there you go.
If you're on Facebook, join our Progressive Overload podcast community group, and that's a format that we're gonna use each week to keep everybody engaged, get to know our listeners, all of you out there that are posting. Hopefully, you'll start kind of catching on to that trend.
Yeah.
And just Motivation Monday, you can post a motivational picture, something that motivates you, just whatever that looks like to you. There's no rules. What You Eatin' Wednesday is obvious. We're going to share pictures of our meals, our food prep, our recipes. We'll do kind of a little bit of everything there. And then Fit Pick Friday, we're going to post, some sweaty gym selfies, or a picture of a video of a lift you're doing, or the workout you did that day. It doesn't have to be a picture of you, but just a way once again to connect with everybody and really
absolutely. It's been a blast having you guys learn about us and who we are, but we also want to take the opportunity to learn about you and your stories. And so this is just one way that we're introducing in regards to just being able to connect with each other. And so we are looking forward to that. Hope to see your interaction with that. Don't be afraid to jump in.
For sure.
All right. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks for listening to the Progressive Overload podcast. We're honored to be a small part of your day. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or are interested in sponsoring our efforts, please feel free to reach out via email. Find us at progressiveoverloadpod@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe and follow our podcast so you'll be notified when our next episode drops.
And as always, you can help us reach the masses by sharing our podcast with your friends and family. And then check us out on Facebook and Instagram to follow our own personal journeys and get an inside look on our day-to-day lives. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.